Hello, welcome and namaste everybody. Welcome you all in this our family gathering and family reunion of UFG Module 2 of Holistic Human Health. Let's welcome our source person and poster, Samla Didi with us today. The Samla Didi, namaste.
Namaste, namaste, namaste to everyone.
नमस्ते सभी को नमस्ते.
So I think I'll share my screen from here.
Didi, sure.
So it's been a while since I last came for this session, but several people have mentioned that when we last spoke about the intake, that they would like to hear it again. So I thought I will talk a little bit about the intake part and how it can help to keep the body healthy. And of course, if there are questions, you can raise the hand and we can take questions also. In case if, I think there's already a raised hand. I didn't start yet, but okay. Prabhat Kumar Yadav ji.
Didi, namaste.
Namaste.
Didi, in the last session, Bhaiya was telling that to someone that put the ghee at the night in the milk. So it will, morning it will press the stomach and motion will be very good. So what I did, I just give to my daughter. My daughter is 9 years old and she feel very better. And we, after that, we also, my wife and we also consume this this ghee, milk and ghee. So I want to know that in how many days we can continue this procedure, this thing.
Yeah, so when you say better, what have you noticed?
Means before that, she is not going for the press for last 3 to 4 days. But when we starting giving this, now she is what you can say, stomach will be fresh now and smoothly motion is going now and all these things. And same happened with my wife and me. So I want to know in how many days in night we give the milk and the ghee both together.
See, ghee as such is a lubricant, no?
Yes.
So it lubricates the entire lining.
Yes.
The intestinal lining, the whole gastrointestinal lining.
Yes.
So, in fact, ghee is very beneficial. There is no harm to taking it even on a daily basis. Some people even recommend taking a spoonful of ghee in the morning, just empty stomach.
Okay.
So, I mean, just with the milk at night, how long to take that, you can decide. Important thing to see is we should not be dependent on that just for the child to pass motion. We should be making sure that the intake has sufficient fiber foods and so on, isn't it? That the child is not eating other foods which are too processed or lack fiber, because that is also necessary.
Didi, she is taking the fiber and all these things because we are not giving the fast food at all to my daughter because she is doing the sports only. So we are giving
So
enough.
what do we
diet
mean by fiber foods?
Means all the carrot and all the means vegetable kind of thing like karela and all the kheera and all these things. We cucumber, whatever seasonal fruit, seasonal vegetable and fruit is coming, we are giving to her.
Nice. Very nice. Sometimes it can even be that, too much of dryness in the body. Therefore, the lubrication helps. So whatever chapati, rice she eats, in fact, for everybody, you can put a spoonful of ghee in that.
Okay, Didi, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, Didi.
Ji.
My wife is asking how much ghee we use in the milk, because we just put little
5
bit.
minutes. 5 rule.
1 spoon is sufficient.
1 spoon?
Yeah, you're putting 1 spoon, you said, no?
No, I am not putting 1 spoon. Only 5 to 6 drop, not very less.
Drops.
Yes, because we are not know how much ghee we will use in the milk.
1 कप दूध में बड़ा
So
कप
if you are not having milk on, if you're not having ghee on a regular basis, half spoon is fine.
No, we have sufficient ghee. We have my wife just extract the ghee from the.
Just use half to 1 spoon. That is sufficient.
That is sufficient. Na?
Yeah.
Ghee, Didi.
Gee.
If I gave a daily basis, there is nothing harmful like this thing.
There is no harm.
Thank you, Didi. That is only we are worried about.
Yeah.
Can we give daily or not? Thanks a lot, Didi.
Yes, see, it is important to now if we don't know about things, particularly what the benefit is, quantity wise and so on, then we will have many such questions, because if you look at the foods we eat, there is so much variety. Then there will always be a doubt. This is, when to eat this, when not to eat, and so many things. So that's why I think in the intake, some basic reasons why things are proposed in a certain way, we'll go through that. And then if there are questions, we'll take it. If that's okay with Naresh Kumarji, your hand is raised, but I think let me begin the topic first, and then we can take the questions, because I didn't even start yet. So if you look at the program for health, we tend to look at things when there is a problem. So child is not passing motion, what shall I do? Child is not feeling hungry, what shall I do? So we look at the problem and then we try to look at some solution for it. But what about the resolution? What about looking at the whole body holistically? And then trying to stay healthy rather than trying to patch up when there is a problem. So that should be our focus. And for staying healthy, these are some of the things. So when we say intake and routine, lifestyle, labor and exercise, and postures for regulating the internal and external body organs, regulated breathing like pranayama. So a simple thing like child is not passing motion. Now, if we make sure that the intake is right, if we make sure that the lifestyle has sufficient activity on a daily basis, if child is eating at the right time, sleeping at the right time, not eating between meals, so many things like that. And there is some exercise on a daily basis, some yoga pranayama is going on, then 99% you will not have any issues at all. So last time we had talked a little bit about the intake, and many people had said that they want to hear that again, or we should do it again. So intake, we looked at food, water, air, sunlight, all this is intake. It's not just about the food that we take in. So you'll see, people used to say, if you go, if you have a change of climate, change of atmosphere, you tend to stay healthy. Something like that. You go to the hills, or people used to say things like that. So why is that? I think a lot of times we get busy in our own life with, just being stuck indoors. Today, for students, for teachers also, for all of us, it has become like a sedentary life. So we are behind desks and chairs. We are sitting in one position, and we are, day in and day out, spending a lot of time indoors. But we may not have reduced the food intake. See, when you're sitting in a sedentary kind of lifestyle, and especially as our age advances, we find that you don't require as much food. So only when you exercise, when you are making the body move, then there is more requirement for food. Even for young students these days, a lot of times there is not much movement. The good thing about campus life is that there is, generally you have to walk long distances from one block to the other, which is good because the body is meant for movement. So if we don't move it, then we are going to have problems, health problems sooner or later. So when we say intake, intake is not just about food and water. It's about air, it's about sunlight, it's about taking in things through all the five senses of the body. But today, since we said we'll talk of food, we'll talk about intake of food. What kind of food? Skip this. What kind of food choices are you going to make? So, food that is nutritious, nurturing for the body, food that is digestible. So remember what we were just talking about, physical activity. So if I am not physically active, I will not be able to digest heavy foods. So if I want to be able to eat heavy foods, I want to have all those urad dal laddus and those kind of things, then I need to move my body more. Earlier times, people used to work on the farm, on the land. And with that strenuous kind of activity, it would increase their hunger, and then they were able to digest many things. But if we are not doing physical work, if we are not doing physical activity, then digestibility becomes less. Or you can say that our digestive system is not able to digest those foods that are heavy or difficult to digest. So we have to do things accordingly. One is, as age advances, digestibility decreases. That is one thing. So a 60-year-old should not be eating like a 16-year-old, because then there'll be a problem. Having said that, even for a 16-year-old, if physical activity is missing or is very less, then the body is going to have a problem. The digestibility will become less. So, nutritious food that is nurturing for the body in the right quantity, of course. Too much of even a good thing can cause harm. The food should be digestible. The food should be excretable. Food meaning not food should be excretable, but the waste matter after the food is consumed, whatever is waste, it should come out of the body. If it doesn't, it is going to create a lot of problem for the body, which is what is happening today. And so we have diabetes, we have high blood pressure, and we have so many issues, so many problems. Rheumatoid arthritis, so many things. So the food must be fiber rich in order to be excretable. So fiber rich means lot of fruits, lot of vegetables, and so on. Another important thing to note is that when your digestive system is weak, too much of raw food may also be difficult to digest. So there are some, in the case of the digestive enzymes, when we are eating cooked food, then we should not mix it with raw foods at the same time. Because there can be a problem if our digestive system is weak. If our digestive system is hale and hearty, like in a young person who's active, then there may not be any issue. But for especially the elderly, those who are sedentary, those whose digestive system is weak, then we have to watch more closely what we are eating. One important thing to remember is that when you change the form of the food, the qualities of the food may change. So what does that mean? So we say grains are healthy. So we eat grains, right? But in what form? So if you are eating, oats in the raw form that you are cooking at home, that's one way. If you are eating packaged, processed masala oats, then now the form has changed. The qualities have changed. Isn't it? Pulses. Pulses means dals. So you have dals, especially with the covering on top, what we call chilka wala dal, with the covering. So you have green moong. This is one of the best. Best means very easily digestible, very nutritious, very wholesome dals that can be had. But if you're eating from a packet which says moong dal and rice khichdi, now the form has changed. The qualities will also change. Similarly, if you look at fruit, so you eat an orange, you have the juice and the fiber and all the goodness of the orange as you eat it. But you think, oh, I can only eat one orange at a time. It will be more beneficial if I take, orange juice. If I drink a whole glass of orange juice, it will give me the nutrition of 3 or 4 oranges. Not correct. If you see what is available in the market today in the form of juices, you must look at the fine print. Many of the juices will say juice drink, which means the actual fruit content is very little. Maximum what it has is sugar and water. So we need to be aware of what we are taking. Even those so-called 100% juices, if you know how they make it, you will realize that better than juice is to eat the fruit directly. Because even in the 100% juices, what happens is that the juice or the actual orange, the content of the orange which goes into the juice, that is dried up. They dry it up so that they can have easy transport. If you have to transport 1 liter of juice, it takes up so much place. But if you have to transport a few milligrams of the dried powder, it's easy. So they transport it with that, dried powder, and then they reconstitute with water at the other end and package it and sell as 100% juice. Now the form has changed. The qualities will also change. So even though the package says, this many, the RDA recommended daily allowance, and this has this many the juice of so many oranges, and all of that may be true. But you have dried it, you have transported it in the dried form, now you have reconstituted it with water. Does it really maintain the same form? You have food that you cook and then you reheat in the microwave. What does that do to the food? So in the microwave, food is heated unevenly. Particles are vibrated unevenly. The food gets heated unevenly. And constitutionally, it changes. So what that food is providing when it is freshly cooked and eaten is very different from now when you're trying to reheat it in a microwave, or even if you're cooking it directly in a microwave, because there the constitution may change. So all these things we need to be aware of. Vegetables. The best way to eat vegetables is look for those that are fresh, seasonal, regional. Meaning, vegetables that are local to your area are probably better for your body, better for your wallet also. It will cost less, isn't it? And those vegetables that are seasonal, this accounts for fruit also. Fruit and vegetables, those that are seasonal are likely to do your body much more good. Those that are regional, you are much better off having those rather than trying to get some fruit which is very exotic from, say, Australia or New Zealand or something. It may not do as much good. Coming to milk and milk products. So in the milk and milk products, again, we should be aware that A2 milk is the one that is beneficial for the health of the body. What you are largely getting in the market today is A1 milk. So what is called Jersey cow milk. That is not so good for the body. This has been linked with heart disease and atherosclerosis and so many issues. So if possible, try and find out. Nowadays, there is much awareness. Things are available online. So you should be able to access A2 milk. That is milk from indigenous breeds of cows, like the Desi cows, the humped Desi cows, like the Gir cow and so on, Sahiwal and all these. So with that milk is good for human consumption. Cow milk, of course, we are referring to. Buffalo milk is not considered good for human consumption. So milk and milk products. Now, even in the milk products, milk as such you heat and drink, it has one kind of effect on the body and it is useful. But if you have this in the form of paneer, now it becomes hard to digest, right? So now, if you have a weak type cottage cheese, that is, you want to avoid curd and so on. So curd, even though we think that it is good and easy to digest, it is a little bit hard on the digestive system. But when you mix it well with a spoon or a roller or something, and you add water to it, dilute it like a lassi, or if you have buttermilk, that can do the body a lot of good. That is useful for the body.
Didi, sorry to interrupt.
Ji.
No, so here I would like to add a few things regarding this nutrition, what we are talking. One is, as you said, desi cow, which is very good. And I can give the best example. Here we are using the same milk. At the same time, where I take it from our Dada, that is Kendra person, I have he has experienced and told me that as he is maximum time with the cows, desi cow, so he never get cold and cough. So that is what the plus point. If you are along with these domestic animals, and you will not get affected by this cold and cough also. At the same time, this cow milk is very fantastic. I remember very well. If my child don't get this cow milk, they don't drink other milk only. They want that milk, cow milk only, because it is very, very energetic and fantastic one. That's what I wanted to add.
Ji.
Thank you.
Thank you. So going forward, nuts and seeds. So nuts and seeds also have a lot of goodness, lot of, vitamin E, omega-3 fatty acids, and so on, which are very useful for the body. So it is good to have the nuts. Perhaps you can soak them, a few nuts at night, say like 5 almonds or a couple of walnuts or something like that. If you soak it at night and then have it the next morning, it is easier for the body to digest the same thing. And seeds also, in the earlier times, whenever puddings and, rice pudding, rice kheer, all these things were made, they would add those seeds like this muskmelon seeds, kharbuja seeds. These are highly nutritious, very good. Till or sesame seed, very rich in calcium. So many of these seeds are very nutritious. Of course, you need to have in small quantity. The seed is packed with all this goodness, so a little bit is sufficient. That is why even for the nuts, I was saying maybe 5, 6 of these nuts soaked at night, and so on. If you look at oils and fats, so in oils and fats, there is so much now fear that we should not take oil, we should not take fats. So nothing wrong with oils and fats. In moderation, everything, a balanced diet does include oils and fats. And we were just talking of ghee. Ghee is one of the best forms of fat. And in fact, earlier, a lot of people left eating ghee because it was said that this is saturated fat and saturated fat is bad. But not all saturated fat is bad. And ghee is one of those exceptions. So ghee is useful, ghee is beneficial for the body. So it can be had on a daily basis. So far as oils are concerned, oils also, they can be, if you extract them in a form which is not damaging them, then they can be very useful. Like for instance, when they are extracted by cold pressing. So you have cold pressed mustard oil, cold pressed sesame oil, cold pressed coconut oil, and so on, olive oil, things like that. But once you heat them, once you add some chemicals to them in the processing part, then it is damaging for the oil, and then it becomes harmful for the body. Therefore, refined oil is not a good option. In the refined oil, it has already been damaged with that so-called refining process. So it is no longer good for human consumption. What about sweeteners? Should we have them? Should we not have them? So if you look at sweeteners, you will find, in fact, for all of these, what is happening is, you will notice that if we stay closer to the natural form, the less processed form, then it seems to be beneficial for the body. So in the sweeteners, if you take ready sweeteners like raisins, like dates, directly you can add them to your foods. They sweeten the food. You make laddus, you make desserts. It will directly sweeten the food. No need for sugar. You take jaggery. Jaggery is a less processed form that's coming from the sugarcane. If you process it more and you whiten it and you bleach it and all those things, then you get white sugar. By then, nothing much is left out of it. So it's good to have sweeteners also in moderation. But, the ones that are in the natural form or close to the natural form, less processed is better. Once you process it more and you add artificial ingredients and so on, then it is not worth consuming. Okay, I think we can take some questions. There are some hands raised, and then we'll move on. Yes, there's a question. You can go ahead. I think I'm not able to see properly.
नरेश जी हैं दीदी
हाँ,
नरेश
नरेश
जी has
जी.
written.
Yes. Your hand was raised from the beginning, Narishi. You have the question? Or should we move ahead?
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
I want to ask that this course is available in PDF form. Whatever you are teaching.
This is available in the book, but unfortunately the book is not out yet. It should be out, but the book is completed. And the course also will be coming out. It's not yet readily available, but it will be coming soon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So now if you look at grains or cereals, so if you sprout these, if you soak them, if you sprout the whole grain, that is probably the best way to eat it. But that may not be possible for all grains. So you process it a little bit. Like you have dalia. That can be made from various things, from wheat, from barley, from jowar, from so many grains. You can make it into a coarse kind of a dalia. So that becomes something still worthwhile, good to eat. You process it some more, it becomes atta. But these days you will find much of the atta that is available in the market is being strained so fine that hardly any fiber is left in it. So that's not good. That is more processed. But if you don't strain this, if you grind this grain such that there is one is that it is coarsely ground, not very finely ground, but also that you don't strain it. if you strain it, then you're removing all the fiber and only the fine part will remain. So that is no good. You will notice this. Probably the women may be able to notice this. When you do atta, when you sort of knead the dough, आटा गूंथते हैं जब, when we knead the dough, at that time, if it is very fine atta, it will stick to the container and it takes in very little water. If little excess water goes in, it becomes all, mushy. So you can't really do that. But if you have atta which has lot of fiber, it is coarsely ground, you will find it is a lot heavier. You will find that when you put water in it, it soaks up the water and you leave it aside. Earlier days, that is how it was done. Today, we are in a rush. So we quickly do it in 2 minutes and say, ho gaya, and let's make the roti. This kind of atta will not be easily digestible. But if you put some water in it, keep it for some time, sprinkle some water on it, keep it for like 10 minutes, then come back to kneading it, you will find that the water gets soaked up. You may need more water and more water till it becomes soft. This movement of the hands with which you are kneading the dough, this makes a lot of difference. Those who are making, using bread makers and all, we may not be doing it, but many people do. And it may seem like, what's the difference? You can knead it in a bread maker also, but there is a difference. How you knead it with the hands, one is your hands are getting massaged. All the pressure points that are there in the palms of the hand, they are getting pressed. So that is helping your body stay healthy. But besides that, the atta also, you are making it more digestible by doing this process. It becomes softer and you will notice the difference even in the chapatis that you make. So that's about that. And if you process it some more, you get what we call is cream of wheat or suji. Not so beneficial. And of course, if you process it even more, you get maida, which is perhaps taste, but zero in terms of nutrition. So we have our choices. We can make our choices. Whatever we have, we can see what is the best way to use it and then go about that. So like I said, if there is less fiber in the atta or the maida and it is sticking to the utensil, you can just visualize how it must be sticking in the intestines also. And it does. The absorptive area of the intestine, which absorbs the nutrition, fresh nutrition, those villi, those are called villi, those finger-like projections from where the absorption happens. If there is a coating on top of that, if there is a layer stuck on top of it, of course they cannot absorb anything fresh. And with that, you will, whatever toxins are there in that layer which is stuck on the villi, that is going on circulating in the blood. And when we keep doing this over a period of time, then there are problems like diabetes, high blood pressure, and all of these things. So we make it into an industry of trying to solve the issue. But if we look at the, from the starting point, then we can see that we are making some choices without understanding. If we understand things better, if we keep that in mind, that any food that we eat should be nutritious, it should be digestible, the waste should be excretable. That part is very important. That has to be a part of it. We already talked about this. Pulses also you can sprout. You can, that is the best form. But if not that, you can cook them. You can use the split form. And the one that is more processed is without the covering skin, not so beneficial, not that much nutrition, because the skin has a lot of nutrition also. Vegetables, we talked about this, fresh, regional, seasonal. Try to wash them first and then chop them, not the other way around. Many people chop them into very fine pieces and then put them in the container of water. Then all the nutrition is gone. People cut up potato or raw banana and put it inside the water so that it doesn't get discolored. But the discoloring is because of the being exposed to oxygen. Now when you put it in the water, now everything has gone in the water. You are going to drain the water and then use it. So all your nutrition is gone in the water. So rather than do that, wash first, chop when you're ready to put it on the fire, and then cook it on low flame. We tend to get in a rush and we want to cook quickly. But there you lose out. Simple thing like rice. Again, we've gone back to the cereals, but just as an example. So if you have rice which is less processed, like brown rice. Now, this brown rice, if you soak it in water for about half an hour, you will find that it cooks much better. And if you cook it on low flame, the taste also is enhanced, and every grain is sort of cooked and you can see it separate. But if you say don't soak it or you cook it on high flame, it will get all bunched up. And that's why many people say brown rice, that is no good, doesn't taste good. That's because we are not cooking it properly. So cook on low flame, avoid overcooking. And when it comes to vegetables, many a time we throw away the leaves, the green part. So you eat the beetroot, and in the market also you will see it sold like that. Beetroot is there, but the leaves are missing. Cauliflower, we tell them, no, you cut the ends and give me. So we have thrown away the leaves. Radish also, same thing. We take the radish, we throw away the leaves. Why? The leaves are the one that have a lot of nutrition. What we are throwing away is actually good for us. So if you want, you can add it to the vegetable itself. If you want, you can have a separate vegetable just with the leaves. And you will find that it is actually quite delicious and of course useful for the body also. You have lots of vitamins, B vitamins and all that you get from that. Yes. So if there is any question, you can just stop me. Otherwise, I will keep going, because in the interest of time, we just have maybe 15 minutes more. In the fruit part, if you soak it in baking soda or salt water, it may help to remove some of the pesticides that may be there on the skin, on the surface. So that may be a good idea to do, that you soak it in, just like put in a big container of water. You put 1 or 2 teaspoons of baking soda. It's readily available in the market. Cooking soda, they call it baking soda. You add the uncut fruit or vegetable in that. Soak it in that for about 15 minutes. Then wash it in running water. Sort of wash it nicely in the running water. It will feel like slightly soapy because of the baking soda. but you wash it nicely and then you cut it up and then you consume it. So a lot of times we keep the fruit cut and then we keep it in the fridge. I have seen people cut watermelon in the morning. They cut it up and keep on big bowl and then have it over 2 days and 3 days. Never do that. Because now you are, all of that is getting exposed, it is getting oxidized, and it is leading to problem in the body. It leads to what we call the free radicals, and that is causing damage to the body. So cut as much as you want and eat. If it's a big watermelon, cut it in half and put it upside down in a plate. And one half you can cut and eat that time. The other half, next day, if you are going to eat, then you can remove the top layer, a thin layer, which might be oxidized, and then have the rest of it, rather than cut up the whole fruit and put it in the fridge. That you're not getting much benefit out of that. So see, these are things that we think they are good foods, but we are not using them properly. We already talked about this whole fruit versus juice or blending. Milk also we spoke about. We spoke about, cottage cheese being difficult to digest, but the water from that, when you make the paneer, many people throw away the water. That water is actually very useful, very good. If nothing else, you can use it for kneading the dough. In the atta, you can mix that water. So that will give you the benefit of that also. Then A2 ghee, how to make. There is something, the Vedic method, Bilona method. These days now you'll find a lot of things, in the shops also. There is a lot of emphasis on all this. Why? Because there are various ways people are making ghee. And it may not be so beneficial, even if it is A2 cow milk. So many people make ghee with, they just take the cream that is from the top of the milk and they keep storing it over a few months or a couple of months or something, depending on how much milk we are taking. And then this whole thing, they blend it and then they take out the butter, and from that they cook it and make the ghee. So rather than do this, what is traditionally meant to be the way to make it is that you make curd out of it. How? So you take the whole milk along with the cream. You may have some extra cream in it. That's a different matter. But even if you have accumulated cream, now you mix it with some milk, make curd out of it. Then when you have made the curd, now you separate out, you churn it, and now the butter will separate out and you have the buttermilk. And every part can be used. The buttermilk is very nutritious, that can be had, that, everybody can drink that. And the butter part, the children and all can have this fresh butter. As you get older, a better way to consume it is to cook it and make it into ghee. Ghee is a very good form of for a cooking medium because it has a very high smoke point. What that means is that if you are, how when you take sometimes some of these cheap refined oils, you will notice if your container is little heated up, more heated up, and you put this oil, it is almost like it catches fire. So it's there in the, like as if a flame is there in your pan. How many of you have noticed that? Can you put yes or no in the chat? If you have noticed it, yes or no? With the refined oil, has anybody noticed? Yes. Yes, many people have noticed this. Yes. So this will generally not happen with ghee. you will find that even if the container is little bit hot, when you put the ghee doesn't burn up so quickly. So it has a high smoke point. If an oil has burnt up like that, you will notice that the taste is also different. It doesn't taste as nice, and the oil has actually been denatured. That means it is not fit for consumption. So if something like this happens, throw it away, cool your container, take fresh. And in fact, I would suggest don't use refined oil, use cold pressed oil. Okay, I think we've covered everything. Salt, again, natural versus processed. So you can use rock salt, you can use black salt. Rock salt you are familiar with, sendha namak. These days now, again, lot of awareness, lot of people are very health conscious. So this is available in the market in big packets. Earlier, people used to have it only during the fast. So it was available in very small packets. But for those like myself who use only that kind of salt in the house, so you need a bigger packet. So now they are readily available. It's called sendha namak or rock salt. And you can use it like you would use table salt. Same way. You may need a little bit more quantity as compared to table salt, which is much more concentrated. But then it will be more healthy for the body. Yes. So if there are any questions, we'll do that. Otherwise, I'll move forward. Okay, we'll go forward. This question, a lot of times, many people have this question about plant-based food versus animal-based food. What's the big deal? Why should we have vegetarian and not non-vegetarian food? So we may have many reasons of our own, and I'm not going to go into any other reason except the reasons concerned with the health of the body. So if you look at the health of the body, few things to keep in mind. Plant-based food has zero cholesterol. These days, there is so much of problem with, oh, your cholesterol is high, check it, and then have cholesterol lowering medicines and so on and so forth. If you're having plant-based food, there is no way your cholesterol is going to be high. There is no plant-based food which has cholesterol. As opposed to that, animal-based food or non-vegetarian food, that is high in cholesterol. So one big difference. Accordingly, your risk of heart disease with plant-based food is nil. With animal-based food, it is moderate to high. Risk of colon cancer. Why colon cancer? Because colon cancer is because of lack of fiber in the diet. When there is lack of fiber, you can imagine if the food, whatever the body has to take, it takes. Now what waste is left, it has to be thrown out. If it doesn't get thrown out in a timely manner, it is going on circulating in the body, and it is, these are toxins, right? These are not going to do any good for the body. In fact, all these are creating problems, and in the colon will be the major area where the food is stuck. So if you have animal-based food, it has zero fiber. Please remember, animal-based food has zero fiber. So it's going to be stuck there and it's going to rot there. So what's going to happen? Colon cancer. So animal-based food, the risk is very high. Plant-based food, it is nil. Protein content. In animal-based food, protein content is high. What about plant-based? So many times we hear, parents say that for the sake of the child, we are using egg because it has protein. This is also a myth. If you look at the whole pulses, If you look at rajma, if you look at white chana, black chana, lobia, black urad, whole moong, all these dals, the pulses, they are very high in protein. Many of them are much higher in protein than egg, and some of them are as high in protein as chicken or meat. So this is also a myth that plant-based food has low protein content. And these days, so many people are using soy, tofu. So that is another form which is plant-based and which has high protein. Then people also used to say, at least when we were studying, it used to be said that animal-based food it has the complete protein, whereas plant-based food is incomplete. That is also a myth. While it is true that animal-based protein, the protein in animal-based foods is complete in the sense it has all the essential amino acids. In the plant-based foods, we have been much aware of that in our tradition. Therefore, we combine dal and rice. How many times, all of us have had khichdi, dal rice combination. Every other day we make rice and we make some dal and we mix the two and have. This kind of food combination, what is, a couple of the amino acids that are missing in the dal, but they are there in the rice. So with these kind of food combinations, it becomes a complete protein. So that is another thing that you should be aware of. One more thing that to look at is our body design. Is the body designed to eat animal-based food, or is it designed to eat plant-based food? So you'll find that our body, the design of the digestive tract is that like the herbivores, the plant-eating animals. Carnivorous design is very different. So if you look at our teeth, our canines are small. But if you look at the carnivores, they have very large and sharp canines. We don't have those. If you look at salivary amylase, we have amylase enzyme in the mouth. So this is why is it there in the mouth? So that we can, we have so many plant foods and there is starch in these plant foods. So to be able to digest the starch, we need this salivary amylase. If you look at carnivores, they don't have this salivary amylase because their diet doesn't have that. So they don't need salivary amylase. Then if you see our stomach pH, it is mildly acidic. But if you look at the animal stomach, it is highly acidic. Why? Because it has to dissolve all the bones and everything that they're eating. We don't have that kind of stomach. We don't have that kind of pH in us. And of course, if you look at the intestinal length, we have very long intestines, 22 to 30 feet. The average person has 22 to 26 feet long intestines. And if you look at your height, you will get an idea of how long your intestines are. So just imagine whatever food you're eating has to travel that whole way before it comes out, before the waste comes out. Therefore, the fiber must be there in the food. But if you're eating animal-based food, there is no fiber at all. And in the animals, in the carnivorous animals, they don't have this length of intestine also. They have only 6 feet intestines because whatever they consume, now it has no fiber. So it must come out of the body quickly. So the intestines are designed in such a way that they are very short. So it can't stay in the body for too long. But when we eat that same kind of food, we have 22 to 26 feet long intestines. So anywhere along that path, if it gets stuck, now, because there is no fiber, it will keep going slowly, very, very slowly through this, and therefore all the toxins and the problems related to that. Yes, I think we are just out of time. So I hope this session was useful. I'm sorry, but we couldn't take too many questions, although there weren't that many raised hands also. So, Parikshit Bhaiya, should we stop here?
Certainly, it is time. So let's respect the circadian rhythm as well. And it's really always an enriching experience to hear from you, and took our focus on a very important topic of health in holistic way. So it's really nice, and we like to hear you more and more in upcoming days. So thank you all the co-explorer, and thanks again, Kamla Devi, for this enriching session. Let's call it a day, and we'll meet again next Friday. Namaste, everybody. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste, everybody.